Hi guys, it's Blackie. Okay, continuing with the axe files. Today we're going to talk about something a little more in depth. We've talked about the edge, we've talked about different kinds of axes. And one of my followers who's enjoying the series, Mr. Aaron, thank you very much again, contacted me and said he wanted to gift me and send me an axe because he wanted to hear my take on it. I said, okay. And so he sent me this axe. Now this is a, you pronounce that right there, Black Forest German axe. And here are the specifications for this axe. Now, this is a short woodworking axe. This is a camp axe. This is a crafting axe. This is something that you would carry on a rucksack or something like that to the field to do camp work. What we would think of as a camp axe. Down here in my part of the South, we call it a canoe axe quite often. Okay? Let's look at this axe from the eye of a woodsman. Of when I pick up this axe, what is this axe's job? Okay. One, how long is it? It is the perfect length, which is armpit to my cupped hand, which is the right size. It only weighs 3.5 to 4 pounds, okay, which means it can be carried strapped to a backpack or rucksack without being a huge encumbrance. It can even be worn on the belt, sword style, like this, for short-term carrying it, okay? Now, let's look at the axe itself. Let's look at that head. Look at that very thin profile, okay? Let's look at this hammer pole back here, which is flat, okay? Get a really good look at that. Now here's what I see when I look at this axe, just first impressions. One, it's got a good heavy handle right there, and it's got that flat back pole. That eye is flat on the top, and then it's got the deep tongue to it. That tells me it is not a pounding. It is not a true hammer pole. Okay, what that means is you're not going to be pounding on steel wedges with this. Wooden wedges is what this is designed for. Instead of being a rounded back, it has a flat, and that's for using the edge to create plank wood. I need to split long logs. Well, I can chop down a 4, 6, maybe up to, I'd say, like an 8-inch log fairly easily with this. And then I want to split it. Well, with this flat piece, I'm going to create wedges. So I'm going to start the cut and I'm going to put in the wedges, and that flat back is for the wedges to split long logs out to make lumber for building camp things like tables, benches, chairs, boards for walls, for cabins type deal. That's what that flat pole is for wooden wedges, not steel wedges, okay? It's fairly thick right now, but not horribly thick. Notice how it's thicker than the sidewall, which means it can take pretty good pounding. But don't be pounding on steel wedges with it. You'll distort the eye. That's a wooden wedge. Now, let's look at the actual edge face. See where this beard comes up? This gives you a lot of good cutting power. The one that comes down low here is for cutting over your head, because you're reaching up to hook, and that gives your strike point a bigger slice that way. Also, consequently, there, when I'm limbing something on the ground, that's where that upturn is an advantage. It gives me more of a slice because of that curve. When it's coming down to strike here, it would slice, because if you look, the points are rolled up, so any good hit is a slice rather than a blunt hit, okay? It's not flat-faced, it's got a slicing hit. That says limbing axe to me, to limb trees. So I'm going to start with a tree, like 4, 6, 8 inches, whatever. I'm going to drop it, and then this is the perfect tool for limbing. Again, in our campcraft, bushcraft, removing the limbs, slicing from the bottom toward the top, and cleanly cutting them, because I'm going to turn this into something other than just a log or just firewood. I'm going to make it into something. That's what that flat hammer pole is for. Now, notice how nice and swelled that is right there. It's a perfect place to choke up on this axe for doing work like this. No, this is an axe, this is not a knife, but it gives me the ability to do that, to sit there, and especially if I was up north and I'm around big game, 500, 600, 700 pound elk, things like that, disjointing carcasses, them points would be perfect to push in and disjoint the large leg bones, or etc. This type of axe will be very helpful in butchering something that big, and being able to choke up on it like this to use it, or even to slice and process meat into jerk and stuff like that, would be an advantage. So it could use that. It's a little awkward, but it could do that. I like the fact it's got a nice thick hand. It's perfect hand feel right there. When I close my hand, notice my fingers have got about another finger gap to go, but it's a comfortable feel in your hand. It's not something that's, you know, huge or too small. Now, the shape of the handle. Look how nice and broad that end piece is, and the grain is running not exactly vertical, but it's, you know, like that, about like, oh, I'd say 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, which is pretty good actually. But it's got a nice swell to that. This one thing the camera's not going to pick up well, but it's perfect for that's where your hand anchors. Okay, so when I'm holding it out like this grip right here, which feels a lot like a Colt single action army grip, I'll be honest with you, that kind of plow hand, and the swell right there is much like you get the swell on a Kukri. It ain't gonna come out. As you put the force to it to go away from you, it is not going to come out and slide out of your hand. As you chop extensively, you're going to build the muscle, but when you first start out, you don't have the arm strength. You don't have that forearm strength to just sit there and hold that axe and do all kinds of things with it because of the torsion. And you start chopping down a pretty good sized tree, your hand and your wrist begin to fatigue, and your grip begins to slip. That's what that swell is for. It keeps it from slipping out of your hand at that improper moment, we shall say. Now, my technique, and we'll get into technique a little bit later. If I am limbing, going on my right side, I'm going left to right. I'm going to hold the axe in my right anchor. I'm going to put my left hand up here. This guides this head. So I get in position, I make sure my cut is clean, I bring up. When I bring the axe over my head and I begin to slide, that's when I slide this hand down to the baseball bat grip. And then once hit, bam, I slide my hand back to the head. So my hand's going to slide up and down this handle a lot. If I'm going the other way, I do it that way. But this hand slides, or that hand slides. The other one anchors, okay? And that grip right there. So this is what guides it. This is cocked and ready to make the strike. This is in the process of making the strike. This is to recover the strike. I never want to do this. That fatigues your wrist way too quick, and you're likely to just, you know, you don't realize how your wrist is getting fatigued, and you come down and see, it can roll around. This hand slides up. Control that head. So this swell here also is where that hand goes to. So these two swells are what controls this axe. You come up and you're in position. A nice clean axe head. Now let's look at that edge. Remember what we talked about, a fine edge? What does that edge look like to you? You're correct, that's a fine edge, which means this is a biter. This is designed for felling small green wood, felling small trees, you know, 4, 6, 8 inch diameter, and turning them into camp wood, turning them into project wood. The head would be very useful for doing projects as well as the process of actually felling trees. That thin edge is going to bite deep. Now, with soft woods, of wood that is not gnarly grained, it will split camp wood fairly well, because you notice how that wedge gets thick right there. It will not do good as a splitting axe on gnarly woods or very old seasoned woods. Its edge is just too thin, so it's not going to have a lot of outward pressure like we said. But for campfire wood, where you're picking up or whatever, yeah, it'd be perfectly fine. that axe head will slice in sideways, which a lot of your camp chopping for firewood is merely busting the log open, okay, to expose the inner layers and get the gases out easier in the fire. It'll burn faster and easier. So that's what I want to do with this. I want to slice in on it sideways and do that little pop and pop it open. So pop, swish, and open it up. We're going to be doing actual chopping here, not in this video, but in coming videos we're going to talk about how to fell, how to do whatever. We'll get to that. But for right now, I want you to learn to look at an axe and tell the job of an axe by looking at it. Now, for reference, remember my double blade axe? It's got a straight handle on it. There's a little bit of a swell right here because it's got a cut in either direction, right? This axe is a fawn foot type handle, and it's designed for a certain. This angle is a big help because this angle is actually coming up. So when my wrist is straight right there, the axe head is already hit. If it was a truly straight handle, I'd be over torquing my wrist when it went through the log. So this angle gives me more of a relaxed stance. This was created by somebody that had used axes a lot. Not just something to sell to a hardware store, but this company obviously, and me knowing little or nothing about it, knew what they were doing with an axe. Because from my experience, this is a very good axe. The head has been hung extremely tight. There's no gaps anywhere in there on the bottom or the top. Perfect. I mean, very well thought out, very well done. Now, the unlooked, unthought about part, the axe mask or bib or blade or guard protector. A nice long piece of leather. I like that. And then you got a pretty good sewed buckle, which is then multi-layered welt, and then it's got the rivets going through it. I like rivets for an axe because should this come through, and this will go on either way, by the way, because it's riveted on the back, you can adjust the angle. And so if I got to carry it and that buckle's going to be in the other way, I can flip it around and use it the other way. Now, goes on nice and secure, just like that. I like the tabs a little long. I like the fact that it locks back here behind the head so it's not going to come off. I like the fact it's got those rivets so that should it fall, those rivets are the last ditch to stop it, so it will have to cut metal rather than just cut stitching to come out. Now if I swing it full power, of course it's going to cut right through it. But for it just to fall or whatever, that will act as a last ditch, where if there was enough power for it to slice through, the rivets will stop it. I also like these type of masks because they're easy to tuck in a belt. Because when I come in, I'm not going to take that off. When I get in here and I'm, okay, that's the one I want to do. I don't unsheath it until time to use it. A really sharp axe is dangerous just to have laying around, especially one that's got points on top and bottom. It'd be very easy to bump or whatever, so you want it protected. I take this off, I take that long tab, and I tuck it in my belt back here on my hip. Probably go around my belt twice with it so it will not fall off. Back there, it's not going to encumber me. Even if it's hanging in the front, it'd be in the way whenever I'm doing my bit. But it's handy when I go to put the axe down, I can pull it back, safe the axe, and put it down. If I don't have a log to stick it in, I want the bib, especially for transport. So, in these first thoughts and impressions of it, just looking at this thing, good axe. Well done, well hung, well balanced. I like the fact it's got that ring in there. Now a lot of people two people have asked me, what is that ring for? It's because it is a softwood wedge and a hardwood handle. Those two work well together, but over time there is a possibility of the two different dissimilar woods walking apart. By them putting that ring in there, it bites it, and not only does it put the wedge, the wooden wedge puts the pressure sideways. That ring also puts the wedge north and south at the same time. So it's a 360 pressure. There's nowhere for it to wiggle out of, and it holds up better. All in all, a very nice axe. So Mr. Aaron, thank you very much for your gift. I will be using this, and we will be doing an in-depth field trial of this very soon. I've got some firewood coming, and we're going to bust and cut and chop, and we're going to go fell a couple of light trees and things to try it out and do some limbing. That's coming up in the axe files. So, a WOODCRAFT axe, like that. That axe is designed, due to its thin head, to fell trees, drop, cut deeply, have a fine edge, bite hard. The flat hammer pole on it is for doing wooden wedges for splitting out big logs and things like that. Instead of just trying to beat the snot through a big old log, you take it and make wedges, start a cut, and use it to beat and bust big logs down to something small enough it can handle. It's light enough to carry on a rucksack or on your belt. It's not cumbersome to get in and out of deep cover with. That's why that's a woodsman's type axe, short and handy. I'm not here to build a log cabin. I could with it, it'd be a work, but I could. I want something I can utilize and work with. Hope this gives you some ideas, guys. Please leave any questions or comments below. And until next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.